The company that sprays your yard every 3 weeks already knows where those mosquitoes came from. They came from your yard, not the woods, not the creek down the hill, your yard. A tarp with a wrinkle in it, a saucer under a flower pot, the gutter over the garage that hasn't drained right since 2019. That's not my opinion. It's printed on their own homeowner tip sheet, under the heading about standing water. It's just not printed on the invoice. The invoice says $75 to $150, and then it says it again in 21 days. My name is Hollis Ward. I've worked the same 40 acres of bottom ground for 38 years. Heavy silt, floods twice a decade, and every low spot on it holds water for a week after a hard rain. I keep 9 hives on the south fence line. That's the reason I've never once let a spray truck onto this place. Whatever kills a mosquito resting on a leaf also kills whatever else lands on that leaf. So I had to solve it another way. What I use costs about $10 for a season. It sits in a 5-gallon bucket behind my woodshed. And it does not kill the mosquito that's biting you tonight. It kills the 10,000 that were going to bite you in August. Stay with me to the end. You'll know the exact product name, what it costs, which aisle it's in, what to do Saturday morning, and the one mistake that makes the whole thing worthless. You'll also know why the man with the backpack sprayer is never going to bring it up. You already know the hour. It's the hour that used to be the best one. Sun's off the yard. Heat's finally broken. You've got a chair and about 40 minutes of good light left. You sit down. 11 seconds. That's about how long you get before the first one finds the back of your ear. And here's the part that tells you something, if you're paying attention. You don't get bit out in the open field. You get bit in the shade by the foundation, by the woodpile, behind the shed, in the corner where the hose bib drips and the ground never quite dries. 20 feet from your back door. That's not an accident, that's an address. The service most people buy is called a barrier spray. A technician walks the property with a mist blower and coats the undersides of leaves, the fence line, the eaves, the shady resting surfaces where adult mosquitoes sit out the daylight hours. The active ingredient is almost always a pyrethroid. Bifenthrin, lambda-cyhalothrin, deltamethrin. Those are contact insecticides. A mosquito lands on the residue and dies. It works. I want to be fair about that. A good application knocks down the adults in a treated yard and holds for roughly 21 to 30 days before sun and rain break the residue down. Now look at what you actually bought. You bought 21 days. Then the clock runs out and the invoice comes back. $75 to $150 a visit for a one-time treatment. $40 to $100 a month on a plan. $300 to $700 for a full season, and that's a national average. Go to Dallas or Houston with an acre and mature trees, and it climbs 30 to 50% over that. And in all of it, not $1 touches the nursery. The spray goes on leaves. Mosquitoes are not born on leaves. Every mosquito you have ever met in your life spent the first week to 10 days of its existence underwater, as a larva, in a container of still water. And no barrier spray on a fence line reaches into that water, which means you are not solving the problem. You are mowing it. Every 3 weeks. Forever. Here's the number that changed how I think about my own place. A backyard mosquito is a poor flyer. The container breeding species that bite you at your own back door, the ones the CDC targets in a dengue response, typically operate within about 100 to 200 meters of the water they hatched in. That's 100 to 200 yards, 2 or 3 house lots. And in most surveys, up to 70% of the breeding sites in a residential area are on private property, not on public land, not in the marsh, in yards. So when you sit down at dusk and something finds your ear in 11 seconds, that animal was almost certainly born inside the boundary of your own property. You're not being invaded, you're producing them. Now I have to correct my own title, because I'd rather do that than let you carry a false idea out of here. Old farmers did not have it easy. They had it far worse than you. Malaria was endemic in this country. Not in some distant place, here. In the Ohio Valley, the Mississippi bottoms, all across the South. The United States did not declare malaria eliminated until 1951. The federal agency we now call the CDC began life in 1942 as the Office of Malaria Control in War Areas, and it was headquartered in Atlanta for one reason. That's where the malaria was. The National Malaria Eradication Program, started operations on the 1st of July, 1947. In that year, there were around 15,000 reported cases. By 1950, there were about 2,000. So no, my great-grandfather did not sit on his porch in blissful peace. He buried people. What he had was not immunity, it was a habit. He fought the water. Every single week, on a schedule, without being told. The trough got tipped and scrubbed. The wagon ruts got filled. The rain barrel got a lid and a screen. The gutters got cleaned in June, not October. The porch got screened the year they could afford the wire, and that wire was maintained like a roof. And it wasn't just farmers doing it by hand. In the 1930s and 40s, the Tennessee Valley Authority ran mosquito control on its reservoirs by raising and lowering the water level by a foot, 1 foot, on a cycle of every 7 to 10 days through the breeding season, not to generate power, to strand mosquito larvae on dry ground and wash the rest out. Sit with that for a second. The federal government moved an entire reservoir up and down 1 foot a week for the same reason you'd tip over a wheelbarrow. Same idea, same enemy, different scale. They attack the water, we attack the air. That's the whole difference, and that's the entire reason you're losing. Here's the mechanism, and once you have it, you can't unsee it. A mosquito's life has 4 stages: egg, larva, pupa, adult. The first 3 happen in water, only the last one flies. The larval stage is broken into 4 molts called instars. An instar is just the stage between one shedding of the skin and the next. Through all 4, the larva hangs at the surface, breathing through a tube at its tail end, filter feeding on bacteria and organic particles in the water. Egg to biting adult in warm weather takes about 7 to 10 days. 7 days. In a container the size of a coffee can. Now the female. When she's carrying eggs, she's called gravid. That's the word, gravid. A female loaded and ready to lay. A gravid female does not scatter eggs at random. She hunts for an oviposition site, the specific place she chooses to lay, and she is extremely particular about it. She wants still water. She wants shade. And above all, she wants water that already smells like it's full of decomposing plant matter. Because that smell means bacteria, and bacteria is what her larvae eat. That's why she picks the bucket behind the shed and not the clean bird bath you scrub every Sunday. Now here's the connection that took me years to make, and it's the one that turns her instinct into your tool. Public health agencies already exploit that instinct, and they built a machine around it. It's called a gravid trap, designed by Dr. Paul Ryder at the CDC's Vector-Borne Disease Division. It's a pan of water deliberately fouled with hay or grass clippings, left to sit and stink for a couple of days, with a small fan above it. Gravid females come in to lay. The fan sucks them up. That trap is how your state health department counts West Nile virus in Culex mosquitoes every summer. The trap is a bucket of grass water. Your health department uses that instinct to count them. You're going to use it to end them. Let me be careful here because I'm not going to tell you there's a conspiracy. There isn't one. Nobody is hiding this. BTI is on a shelf in every hardware store in America. It's on the EPA's registered products list. Half the spray companies mention standing water on their own websites. The problem isn't secrecy, it's arithmetic. A larvicide costs $10 and lasts 30 days per application. And when the summer's over, you were a customer once. A barrier spray degrades in 21 to 30 days by design. That's not a flaw, that's the chemistry of a pyrethroid under UV light. And when the summer's over, you were a customer 7 times. One of those 2 things builds a root, the other one doesn't. So when the man comes to quote your yard, he quotes the thing that comes back. He is not lying to you. He's just not going to open with the $10 answer, any more than a man selling siding is going to open with a bucket of paint. And there's a second cost nobody puts on the invoice. A pyrethroid on a leaf does not know what a honeybee is. It kills whatever lands on the treated surface. The careful applicators avoid blooming plants and time their work around pollinators, and I respect the ones who do. But I've got 9 hives 80 feet from where that mist blower would be walking, and I am not willing to find out. $10 once, or $400 every year for the rest of the time you own that house. If you've already tried something for this, dunks, oil, a zapper, a fogger, a service you fired, Tell me in the comments what you actually saw happen, not what the box promised. What happened? I read them, and other people planning their summer read them too. The product is a mosquito dunk. The brand you'll find most places is Summit Mosquito Dunks. It's a brown disc, about the size of a donut, and it floats. The active ingredient is BTI, Bacillus thuringiensis israelensis. That's a bacterium that lives naturally in soil. It was found in 1976 in a stagnant pond in the Negev desert in Israel by two researchers named Goldberg and Margalit, who published what it did to mosquito larvae in 1977. The EPA registered it as an insecticide in 1983. Here's how it works, and the specificity is the whole point. BTI produces protein crystals. A mosquito larva filter feeds and swallows them. Inside a mosquito larva's gut, which is strongly alkaline, high pH, those crystals dissolve, get cut into active toxins by the larva's own digestive enzymes, and bind to specific receptor cells in its midgut. The gut wall perforates. The larva stops feeding and dies, usually within a day or two. It requires three things at once. The larva has to eat it. The gut has to be alkaline enough to dissolve it. And the gut cells have to carry the right receptor. Your dog's stomach is acidic and has none of those receptors. Neither do you, the birds, the fish, the frogs, or the honeybees. Mosquito larvae, black fly larvae, and fungus gnats carry them in quantity. Almost nothing else does. This is not a homestead theory. Germany has run its entire Upper Rhine mosquito program on BTI since 1981. An association called KABS, covering roughly a 300-kilometer stretch of the Rhine between Bingen and Offenburg, protecting somewhere near 3 million people. Published results put the yearly reduction in the mosquito population above 90%. The program costs its member communities on the order of €3.5 million a year, which works out to about €1.30 per person. 45 years, €1.30 a head. Price on your end. A six-pack of Dunks runs about $8 to $13 at Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, Tractor Supply, or Ace. A 20-pack runs around $25 to $28. Each dunk treats up to 100 square feet of surface water, regardless of depth, and holds for about 30 days. 100 square feet is a 10 by 10 pond. Your bucket is less than 1 square foot, which means you are not going to use a whole dunk. Here's exactly what I do, in the order I do it. Take a 5-gallon bucket. Dark-colored is better. Black, dark green, dark blue. She's looking for shade and dark water. Fill it about 2/3 with water. Rainwater if you have it. If it's city water, let it sit uncovered overnight so the chlorine gas is off, because chlorine suppresses the bacterial growth that makes this work. Throw in a good double handful of grass clippings. Fresh mowed is fine. Some dry hay or a few handfuls of leaves work too. Then leave it alone for 2 to 3 days. That's the part people skip. The clippings have to ferment. The water needs to go cloudy and smell. That sour, green, stagnant smell. That smell is the whole product. It's the same reason a flower vase goes foul on the 3rd day. Bacteria breaking down plant matter and giving off volatiles. To your nose, that's rot. To a gravid female, that is a nursery with the food already stocked. Now break 1 dunk into quarters. Use your hands, it snaps easily. Drop 1 quarter in. Put the other 3 quarters back in the bag for next month. Set the bucket in the worst corner you've got. Shade, low ground, out of the wind, near the foundation or the wood pile. The exact place you get bit. Not out in the open lawn. Then don't touch it for 30 days. What you'll see in about a week is wrigglers in there. Little comma-shaped things hanging at the surface that dart down when your shadow crosses. That is not a failure. That is the trap working. Those larvae have already eaten, and they're not going anywhere. Leave them. Now the mistakes. Clean water and no clippings. She flies past it. It has to smell. Dumping and refilling it every few days because it looks nasty. You just dumped your own trap and reset the clock. Leave it be. Skipping the 30-day mark. The dunk's rated for about 30 days. Add the next quarter on the calendar, not when you remember. 1 bucket and nothing else. This is the big one. If the bucket is your only move, you've added 1 good site to a property that still has 15 bad ones, and the bad ones don't have BTI in them. Chlorinated water straight from the hose, sealed same day. Let it sit out overnight first, putting it in full sun in the middle of the yard. Hot, bright, and windy is the opposite of what she's shopping for. And this one matters if you have children or livestock. It's an open bucket of water. Keep it where a toddler can't reach it, or run a piece of hardware cloth over the top with a gap at the rim. I said I'd be straight with you, so here's the part most videos leave out. BTI does not kill adults. Nothing in that bucket touches a mosquito that's already flying. Your relief comes next generation, and next generation is 7 to 10 days out. Expect to feel it in the second and third week, not tonight. BTI is not weightless in the environment either. The long-running German program has been studied hard, and researchers have raised real concerns that heavy, sustained BTI use also suppresses non-biting midges, chironomids, which are food for birds and other aerial feeders. At the scale of a bucket in your yard, that's not your problem. At the scale of 1,000 square kilometers, it's a genuine trade-off, and I'd rather you hear it from me. And it doesn't fix your neighbor. If the man behind you has an unused above-ground pool and a boat cover full of rain, you'll be feeding on his production, not yours. That's a conversation, not a purchase. In my experience, it goes better if you hand him a dunk instead of an opinion. Last thing, if you're in floodwater mosquito country, river bottoms after a big overflow, or a genuine coastal marsh, you're dealing with something a homeowner can't outwork alone. That's what mosquito abatement districts exist for. Call yours. Most of them will come look for free, and most of them use BTI themselves. So here's the one thing. Saturday morning, before it gets hot, buy 1 6-pack of mosquito dunks, $10 give or take, hardware store or the garden section at Walmart. Then take an empty 5-gallon bucket and walk your property line, slowly, for 10 minutes. Not to inspect, to tip. Every single thing that holds water goes over. Flower pot saucers, the wheelbarrow, the tarp on the woodpile, the dog bowl, the boat cover, the kid's wagon, the low spot by the downspout, the corrugated pipe with the sag in it, the gutter you can reach from the ladder. A bottle cap of water is enough for her. I mean it. Whatever you can't tip. The rain barrel, the stock tank, the ornamental pond, the ditch that never dries. That gets a piece of dunk. Break one into quarters, 1 quarter per container. Then fill that same bucket 2/3 with water. Throw in a fistful of grass clippings, drop in 1 quarter of a dunk, and set it in the shadiest, lowest, stillest corner you have. Total cost first year, under $12. Total time, about 20 minutes. Mark your calendar 30 days out. That's the whole system. Next week, I'm going to show you what my grandfather did about ticks along a pasture edge. How you make about 6 feet of ground unsurvivable for them without spraying an acre and without a chemical on the list. Same idea as this one. You don't fight the animal. You take away the one place it can't live without. Your great-grandfather didn't beat this because he was tougher than you. He beat it because he went out every Saturday and turned over everything on the place that held water. And he did it in the years when losing meant a fever that came back every spring. You've got a bucket, $10, and a bacterium found in a desert pond in 1976. He'd have called that an unfair advantage. The mosquito starts in the water. Go end her there.